Joe.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good. So can we check out a day in the life?
Yeah, come on in.
Let's go. So Joe, tell me a little bit about a day in your life. Like, what is your official title?
I am a financial advisor. I'm the managing member of Thieman Investments and the chief compliance officer also. So
Oh, wow.
We handle all kinds of fun things regarding retirement and everything investment related.
So on a normal day, do you just see a ton of people coming into this office?
Not always. It's most of the day is actually spent more managing the accounts for people. We will have scheduled meetings quarterly normally with every client, and some days we have them, some days we don't. It just kind of varies depending on the day and what Tessa will tell me as my as I walk in what I have going on that day.
When you talk about managing accounts, what does that even mean? Can you show me?
We can talk about it a little bit. Yeah, we're going to talk about it in the office.
All right. So Joe, before we get started, I see that you went to Texas Tech. Can you talk to me a little bit about what education is required to get to a position like this?
Yeah, so most companies are going to require some sort of bachelor's degree. It does not have to be in finance, does not have to be in business, though those do help. Really the biggest thing is there's going to be licensing exams that have to get done. The Series 7 would be one of them, 66, 63. Those can be done actually even prior to having a full-on college degree. So you can get those licensing out of the way as you finish school. They're hard to do, but it is doable.
Yeah. Okay, so like if I wanted to go to school and major in art and then I decided that I wanted to be in financial investments, I could then begin taking those licenses. What kind of, studying and how do you even get involved in taking those kind of courses?
So you have to be registered with a broker dealer itself. So like somebody that we clear through, like we use Schwab on one side and then Pershing on the other, and those two companies, you would have to be registered with them to be able to then go and get approved to do the licensing exams.
Okay.
And there's study programs through Kaplan, a handful of other colleges that'll do it. Kaplan's been kind of the main one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. How would I get registered with a broker?
You would have to just call somebody that's in the industry and tell them you're interested. The simplest thing, and we're kind of doing it too, is utilizing internships. ASU's got one now and a few others, and start there, see if you enjoy the business, and then you can always work in other areas of the industry prior to getting fully licensed. You could just start by being an assistant or anything else prior to having to be fully licensed.
Okay, and like being an assistant at a financial investment firm, or
Correct.
could I even work in a bank?
You could, yeah, banking, anything financial related is beneficial in some way. The investment side of it can be taught. How to manage people's risk and things like that in the market can be taught. It's more just having some sort of financial background, just a little bit, really does help. It's not required though.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about it. Like, what is it that you look at? What's important?
So when I first kind of come in and really start looking at stuff in the mornings, prior to the market opening, I'll come in here, I'll pull up CNBC, I'll pull up this software we have called Y Charts, and it really gives us an in-depth analysis of what's currently going on in the market, what new headlines are out, what potential headwinds there could be in the market that could cause some issue.
Yeah.
But really, we tend to look at things from a very long-term perspective. So unless it's a large economic problem, most of the stuff day to day is pretty minimal.
Okay.
But we will spend some time looking at what's the projections on the S&P, things like that. So, and then we'll go through and actually look at individual companies. Like we can look at Apple, for instance, and kind of see how they're doing, what they're doing, if they've put out earnings recently, where they end up. And this is all of that hyper detailed analysis that we can kind of run through.
So just to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So this means, so people like myself, if I'm ready to make any sort of investments, whether that's in my retirement or just I want to invest some money, I come and I see you, and then I rely on your expertise to make sure that I'm investing in the right products. Okay.
Correct.
And so when you're looking at all this information, it's really just your strategy that you develop. Okay.
Yes, and it's based on, and it's tailored to each individual person based on their ability to handle risk. And so there's a handful of factors there with age, income needs, and all kinds of various minute details that kind of go into it to figure out what would be the best way to set up your account.
Yeah. And when you talk about risk, what does that mean? Like how much money?
No, more like how much volatility you can withstand. So the fluctuation in the market, the up and down movement of it, the market always moves. There's no way around that. We have seen volatile markets. We've seen non-volatile markets. But when those happen, it's trying to figure out how comfortable the client is with the downside of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So downside equals losing money.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow, what a big job.
So yeah, there is a lot that goes into it from that standpoint. So.
And so once you do all of this every day, and this is kind of what you were talking about as far as meeting with your clients.
Correct.
Okay, every few months.
Yeah, so we meet with them quarterly to kind of look over, hey, here's how things have gone in the past quarter, and here's what we see in the future with, with this being an election year. We get a lot of questions about that. And how that affects the market with the current interest rate situation, how that affects, and so we kind of have to have an answer to these questions and how it could affect their portfolio.
When you first started out in this industry, can you talk a little bit about your first job and how much money you made?
So I've been here for about a decade, and my dad was in the industry first, and I came and worked with him. And that first few years, because it was more of a commission-based business at the time, really I did not generate a ton of income those first few years, but now the industry has shifted where it is more on a fee-based side where you've got more set salaries, and so I would say anywhere if you're working as an assistant, I mean there's a good anywhere from 40,000 to 50 just as an assistant, and then you get into the when you're actually licensed, and I think the current average starts around 65 and works its way up for entry level advisors, and can get well over 100 without a problem.
How long do you think it takes to really build and establish a career in this industry?
Well, so that's the craziest thing. The biggest thing about this is it's generating trust between you and your clients. The more that you can do that, the larger, that book of business will build just due to referrals, word of mouth type referrals. And it takes it would take 5 years or so to build it from scratch. Now, most people aren't going to just start out building a book from nothing. They would come in working under somebody with the chance to take over some of that book of business at some point or share in the revenue from it. So that would be a shorter time frame.
So just listening to you talk, it almost sounds like along with the education that you need, the mentorship that you need, you also have to have a little bit of a salesy type mentality.
Yeah, so there was when I first started doing this, one of our wholesalers, and I can't remember which company it was from, kind of mentioned it. He's like, really, this whole industry, it's still a sales job, but you're just selling yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're selling what you can offer to clients, the services, the trust, the market is going to do what the market does. And you can sit there and try to outsmart it all day long, and we can put in various things based on client risk to help mitigate some volatility, but at the end of the day, it's the other services that really are what set people apart in the industry.
Thank you so much, Joe, for walking me through a day in the life of a financial advisor and really showing me what it takes to become really an expert in this industry.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time today, Tammy, and I really appreciate it.